Welcome to the Maine Famous podcast. I'm your host, April Shaw-Beaudoin. This season, I'm joined by my co-host, Vanessa Santarelli of Your Maine Concierge. Today's guest feels like Western Maine personified. His name is Alex Poland. Alex owns Western Maine Yurts. He's also a registered Maine guide, an artist, and the host of the podcast Where Waters Meet. He grew up just down the road from Bethel. Over the years, he has blended excavation work, family land, guiding, and painting into a life built around being outdoors. In this episode, Alex shares how fly fishing centers him, how the river shows up in his art, and why he created the yurts in the first place. Make sure you subscribe to our show on Apple, Spotify, and YouTube, and wherever you get your podcasts. And now, a message from our sponsor.
Hi, I'm Simon Griffiths, President and CEO of Camden National Bank. Camden National Bank is celebrating 150 years of standing beside the people, businesses, and communities that make Maine and New Hampshire home. And at the heart of it all is you. Every step of the way has been made possible because of your support. Even as we've grown, one thing has remained: our deep commitment to the communities we serve. We're not just here to offer financial guidance. We're here to show up, lend a hand, and be a true partner through life's big moments and everyday milestones. We're especially grateful to Maine Famous for shining a light on the local businesses and neighbors who shape the heart of the mountains regions in Maine. Thanks for being part of our story.
Alex has kind of a lengthy introduction. He is the owner of Western Maine Yurts. He's a registered Maine guide focused on fly fishing. He's an artist with studio and gallery on site, and he's also the podcast host of Where Waters Meet. So that is a mouthful. I had to read it for those of you who are listening and not watching. But I would love for Vanessa to also add on to why she selected you as one of our guests today. Because I brought Vanessa on for a lot of reasons, but one of them is that she's very familiar with Western Maine. She's very familiar with Western Maine and the mountains region, and you were on the top of the short list. So tell us more about
right
why.
near the top.
Oh, okay.
Yes. No, I feel like Alex has become a good friend. Paul and I have stayed at Western Maine Yurts. The property is absolutely gorgeous. And in addition to that, his art is, extraordinary. The tradition of registered Maine guides, it's no surprise. His outdoor adventures, I just want to hang out with Alex. He's very cool, and he's a local. But also, we've partnered on events before where he's been our lodging partner. And for those who haven't tried camping ever, I think his yurts offer a nice segue if you're not ready to really pitch a tent and be out in nature 100%. It's a nice sort of entryway. So I just think there are so many aspects of his life and that I think are going to be fascinating for the folks that are going to tune in.
Yeah.
So, and couldn't be more thrilled to be here with Alex at the beautiful Modern Barn restaurant. And thanks to Jenna for the refreshing mountain berry seasonal cocktail that you can get here this winter.
Well, thank you for being on the show.
Oh, thanks for having me.
One of the things we like to start out asking is if someone has been a lifelong Mainer or if they've moved here and they consider themselves a Mainer.
Mm-hmm. I am a lifetime Mainer. I don't know how many generations we go back, but it's many. And I grew up actually just the neighboring town to Bethel. So I grew up just down the road.
Okay.
Yeah.
You are going to bring a really unique flavor, I think, to this podcast, because one of the things we like to talk about, in addition to you telling us all about you and all about what you do, is the connection that you feel to this place. I haven't met a Mainer yet who doesn't feel a profound sense of place in the state where they choose to live. And you grew up locally. I grew up in Gorham, Maine. I couldn't wait to get out of there. I don't necessarily care to go back there. Yeah. I live in Camden now. But you left for a little while. You went to school.
I went to school in state, actually.
Okay.
I did, yeah. So I was going to go to school out of state. I met my wife, and she was going to school in state, and she was a local girl. And I stayed. I never had a huge desire to leave the state. I always loved Maine. my friends that I grew up with all left, and half of them are back, and the other half that aren't wishes that they could, and they're just in a situation where they kind of can't. But I think kids kind of were the big thing, that when all my friends were having kids, they're like, man, Maine is just such a good place to grow up. I'd like my kids to, grow up there. But I'm lucky. I loved it here. I went to school here. I graduated in 2004 or 5, I think. And I got a bachelor's degree in social behavioral sciences at University of Southern Maine. And I got my master's degree in occupational therapy as well. Never practiced. So I graduated with, my master's in occupational therapy, but I had a year left of that, and I already knew that wasn't like the career path that I was going to want to go, but I finished. So I had it, but I've been in Maine my whole life and worked here my whole life, and I have a lot of family here, and I got a lot of roots to the area, and I can pour on the Maine too, if I have to.
What does that mean?
Does the accent come out?
What does that mean?
No, I love it. I love it.
My grandfather actually just passed away last year, and he was a character because kind of a local legend really amongst Mainers around here. And it's sad because his era of Mainer is gonna be gone, you know what I mean, because he was in his mid 80s, and if you take the western foothills of Maine here, Bethel, Woodstock, Lock Mills, where LL Bean, was born and raised and everything. Like there's the old time Mainers, and most people can't understand them. They're just, don't go over there. It's over here.
See?
And you got to be real slow. And the one that always throws everybody off is the dooryard.
Yeah. Dooryard.
Everybody's like, what on earth is that? And it's like, well, it's kind of explanatory. It's, it's the yard in front of the door.
In front of the door. Was he giving directions? And
in
you
the
go
name.
past the old.
Oh,
you
yeah.
Go past the old gas station.
Yeah, and you can't say horse. It's huss.
Yeah.
And there's an era of Mainer that I it's good to tell stories, and I actually think that's why podcasts are great, is because you don't lose kind of that local folklore. And I think like spoken history is kind of you can write it down, but how do you write down the nuances of old timers talking funny?
Was Friday night supper B&M baked beans, hot dogs, or red snappers, and brown bread out of the Okay.
But of course it's supper.
I always say supper. I say it all the time just because I grew up here, and people always are like, "What is that?"
Yeah.
I'm like, supper.
Dinner. Yeah. His generation didn't say lunch much. It was like because I grew up doing excavation with my grandfather and lots of local guys around here, and nobody said like it's lunchtime. It was dinner time.
If you crashed the car, did you stove it up?
Yep, stove it up.
All right.
Stove it all up.
I haven't heard that one, but my dad talks the way that you're talking about with your grandfather, and he grew up in Portland, so he has no excuse to talk like the Mainer that he does.
Yeah.
That he is, but
my mother tried to get it out of me when I was young. She'd be like, "No, you can't talk like that." So she'd make me put R's and where it was supposed to go. But
I'm just curious about all of the different paths you've taken in your adult life. Was becoming a registered Maine guide, was that first? Was that
no.
Always? Yeah.
No, and so I finished up with my degree in occupational therapy, but I was about a year away from finishing that. And I remember I had the head of the occupational therapy department, and her name was Roxy, awesome lady, and old school feminist. And that was a big part of her studies in college, was like feminism in the healthcare place and stuff like that. And she said to me, which I think that she thought that I thought I was gonna like this, what she had to say. But what she said was, you're in a female-dominated profession, and even though I don't agree with this and this isn't right, with your personality, you'll probably be managing a therapy department in 5 to 6 years. And it kind of freaked me out. I had learned a lot about myself over the course of my career in college. that I didn't know initially. But what I had found out was that I needed a creative outlet, and part of that was like advancement or having options to do different things. And so that kind of actually freaked me out when she told me that, because I was like, wow, that's kind of it for me then. Like, that's kind of my ceiling. So that's why I decided I was going to graduate, but go on to do other things. And I was lucky, and most people don't have this option, you know, like a lot of times, you know, kids go to college and you kind of got to do what you went to college for. You know, you have a lot of time and money invested. But I was lucky in that there was a family business that I worked with, you know, and in the whole time, and, you know, my grandfather that I talked about, like, he did excavation and he had his own business, and my dad bought him out. And my dad used to do logging and chipping, you know, very Maine working, you know, man's game. And
That's tough work.
It's tough work, and he did that for a long time, and he got really big to a point where he had to buy land to have enough wood to be able to cut. So what he ended up doing was, he's like, I'm sick of doing the logging end of things. So he just started dealing with land. So he'd buy and sell land, and very smart, you know, conservative Maine businessman. And he ended up getting big enough that he bought out my grandfather. So my grandfather did all the excavation for my dad, and they would set up house lots and do stuff. So I had the ability as a teenager, when I was in high school and college, I always did excavation with my grandfather. And those are some of my most fond memories. I got to work with my grandfather a lot for over the course of about 20 years. And so he was kind of like a second dad to me. And he was very different than my dad. So they're really kind of cool guys. But anyways, that gave me the freedom to have different avenues that I went down. And then that turned into, you know, me doing photography and videography and doing all of our media packets and flying drones and doing all of this stuff to promote land that we had for sale on top of me, you know, doing the excavation. And we did a lot of stuff. At the end of it, we kind of, you know, we're more specialized in large acreage stuff. But long story short, amongst my journey of working within the family business, I started fly fishing. And I always fished, but when I started fly fishing, it was like the biggest passion that I kind of like had that kind of came out. And I think it was because it tied into the artistic side of me. And growing up as a kid, I always was a sketch artist. Like, and my mother and my grandmother and my great-grandmother were all artists. So when I was a kid, I grew up and they just always had paintings going in the kitchen and stuff. That's, you know, you did the dining room table always had an easel with a painting on it. So that was just like life as a kid, was growing up and seeing that. And they would always tell me that I should paint. And I was like, no, that's your thing that you do. I just like to draw, you know, and stuff. But when I started fly fishing, the vibrancy and colors of the fish, that was when I was like, man, I really think maybe I want to paint. So that's kind of how the painting idea came about, where I started honing those skills, fly fishing more. And I did that for quite a number of years. And I knew that I wanted to figure out how I could get down that route where I could put people in touch with the outdoors, be able to paint. And that's when the yurt thing kind of came about, which it all came about by me digesting like what's happening in Maine, even with the land aspect. Because at the same time, I'm showing clients land and selling land and working on it. And
how many hours are in your day? Because this doesn't make sense to me.
Not enough for sure. I mean, it's everything comes in waves. I do pretty good about not getting burnt out, but sometimes you got to like set back and rest and recuperate, which is what I'm doing right now because I've gotten through the build phase of the yurts. But yeah.
And the yurts are gorgeous.
Well, and you guys are going to be able to check them out, you know, later, and your heat's on, so it'll be nice and warm when you get there. So
I stayed there in the middle of the dead winter, and the heater, the fireplace that you have in there, you just have to put it on 2. It goes up to 10.
Yeah.
2. And it was frigid out, and it's plenty warm. So
we have no complaints of. We actually have the opposite, where people are like, "Oh, it's too hot," you know.
In the middle,
which is I'll take that.
Literally.
You know, it's like, but
So did your family own the land, though, where you built the yurts, or did you buy that land and then you built the yurts and the bathhouses?
So that was a piece of property that my dad and I acquired in kind of a package. So we bought a lot of pieces together, and instantly I was like, that's for yurts right there. That we need to put yurts there. You know what I mean? And we had it for a while. We hung on to it for a while, and it was a lot of digesting to get to the point of like construction with the yurts. It was probably about 4 or 5 years before we started construction was when kind of the research and kind of conception of the process kind of took place. And the goal of that was I wanted to create a little bit more passive income so that I could free up more time so that I could have the time to paint in the winter and to guide clients in the summer, because like we were talking about, and as you both know, like time is like it's the hardest thing to free up.
Yeah, it is.
It's just so tough. But
do a lot of your clients for fly fishing stay at your yurts?
They do.
Okay.
They do, and we offer like fish and stay packages, and those are kind of I ask people to reach out for that just because they're customized to what people's stay is. It's hard for me to price that out because, some people might show up and they're like, we have a group of 6, so we want to have 3 drift boats go out on the river. So then I got to get 2 other guides to help me, which I got a great network of guides that we can do that. So obviously we offer bigger discounts the longer you stay, the longer your fly fishing trips are with us and what have you. But it's my favorite thing in the summer is to take people out and put them in touch with the river and catch some fish and smile. It's a good time.
I did fly fishing for the very first time ever this past year up on the McGalloway.
Yeah.
Which is up in the Rangeley Aquasic area.
Yep.
And from what I understand, Maine is a fly fishing destination in the country or in the world.
Yeah.
And explain why that is, because, I always grew up using bobber and night crawlers, and we fished all the time in lakes. But explain, like, for somebody, I had never tried it, and there is a cadence and a rhythm, and it's meditative, and it is unlike anything else, really.
I think fly fishing, before I get into the why Maine is like a destination thing, but what I will say about fly fishing and hearing your experience is that when I first started, I thought that it was like the old man's game that's just out there waving a fly line around and he wants to look good and he doesn't catch any fish. What I found out is a great way to catch fish, but for somebody who actually like doesn't have very much patience or gets bored, it's very active. It's far more active than like a bobber and bait kind of thing where you toss it out and you sit around and you kind of wait. So it's a great way to be in touch with the outdoors, and then you get in touch with like bug life and everything that's happening. So then at that point, you're like, I don't know, you're just really connected to things. But
and I was in waders.
Yeah,
like,
I was going to ask
I was
you.
in the waders, and the water's rushing, and we were in this secret location.
Yeah.
It was crazy.
you feel official. Like, you get those.
I looked like I knew what I was doing.
You get out there and you're like, wow, this is like, and if you're a gear nut, like, I mean, if you're a gear nut in general, like, you take to fly fishing because there's a lot there. But as far as Maine and it being kind of a, nationwide destination or even worldwide destination, I think that started a long time ago.
But that's true.
It is true. And like where you were up in the Rangeley area, that was the way that all began with the rich and famous kind of coming to Maine to fish there was because of the railway. Because there was a railroad. And so what happened was everybody from New York City and Washington, D.C., I mean, we had presidents that came up and would fish up here. It was because it was so accessible to them because of that railway. It changed a little bit after the automobile was invented. Like Rangeley didn't have quite as much of the like influx of like, wealthy families would, their whole family would stay for the whole summer kind of thing and fish and do all that kind of thing. It changed a little bit because people could get out and about, but yeah, it is. And we have a lot of famous people that come up and fish. And
Like who?
Well, and
Do you sign NDAs?
I do know a lot of guides that have brought out famous people, a lot of politically important individuals, which might not be some people's cup of tea one way or another. And within fly fishing too, there's a lot of famous, people that come up here and fish as well. So Maine is well known for it. They're kind of attributed to being the place where kind of streamer fishing kind of started, which is imitating bait fish with fly rods as opposed to just dry flies on the surface. And Carrie Stevens, which is a famous fly tyer, and she used to tie in hand. And anybody probably in all of the U.S. knows about the gray ghost fly, and that is a Carrie Stevens pattern. And she was an amazing tyer. And Maine has some really cool women that were involved in this stuff with
Crosby.
Fly Rod Crosby.
First registered Maine guide.
Yes.
I didn't know that.
They're
I learn so much from Vanessa every day.
They're making a statue for her that's going to be
so
up.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I have a question. So because Maine is such a destination for people to go fly fishing, is it because it's so beautiful, or is it because people catch so many amazing fish?
So what I would say brings people to the state of Maine for fly fishing, or even fishing in general, and making it like a nationwide destination, is that Maine has over 90% of the lower 48's wild brook trout. So it's a huge percentage, and Maine is also one of the last strongholds, or I shouldn't say strongholds because there's only maybe 4 or 5 ponds that have them, but Arctic char, which is a close relative to brook trout, they just don't exist anywhere else. So Maine is very unique. Maine has trout ponds that are not really wild brook trout ponds throughout, all the way through northern Maine, that it's just a very unique ecosystem that we have here that doesn't exist in other places. But there's other things that are very popular here too for fishing. Smallmouth fishing, even though they're an invasive species and not necessarily supposed to be here, they're a great game fish. People really love them. Our rivers are famed for them now. The Penobscot and the Androscoggin, which would be the most famous ones for smallmouth fishing. And I guide on the Androscoggin River for them.
The first fish I ever caught at my camp up in Lincoln was a 4.5-pound smallmouth bass.
Whoa.
Yeah, and they're exciting.
Which is a big smallmouth bass.
That is a big smallmouth. That
there you
is.
go.
And
I was 8 years old.
And they get you jazzed up.
Yeah.
Like there's
the
nothing
fish was
not
as
like.
big as me
Yeah.
when I was that little. Yeah.
And a lot of people like them. I mean, I have people that come up and they want to be guided for trout. And I have people that want to be guided for smallmouth. And it depends on what region of the country you come for. There's a lot There's a lot of places where smallmouth are the most available game fish for people to fish. Like if you're in Maryland, like the Potomac has smallmouth fishing, but the trout fishing isn't so good. So there's a lot of people that get really turned on to that species, and they come up here. And Lefty Cray used to spend a whole week up here on the Androscoggin River, being guided every year, and he's passed away, but he's kind of like the godfather of fly fishing, So there's a lot of people that have come here because Lefty would write about how special the Androscoggin River was. And so it's a neat place to fish. Plus we also have saltwater fishing too. So I don't have my captain's license. I don't guide in the saltwater. I'm all freshwater, but for somebody that does come to the state of Maine, it's very diverse. If you went to Montana, you can fish for trout there, but you can't fish for stripers there, And so it's unique here because we have a lot of really unique fisheries, and they're all within driving distance.
I want to know what you like the most about fly fishing. Is it seeing the fish so you can get inspired to go paint? Is it cooking the fish because they're so delicious? Is it the experience of just being out in nature?
That's a good question. It's everything. I wouldn't say it's cooking the fish. I'm catch and release. I'm catch and release. And what I usually say to clients is that they're my 401k, so if I take care of them, they take care of me. But
my Nana cooked every fish we caught.
Yeah, well, and I grew up that way, and we talk about that a lot on my podcast, is the catch and release
philosophy.
Yeah. And but at the same time, people can get kind of sensitive about it, within the fishing world. And I don't look down on anybody, whether they do or they don't. I used to keep every fish, too, when I was a kid. We'd go brook trout fishing, and and brook trout are they're delicious, you know. But I'm catch and release now. But what I would say that I love the most about it is it's one of the few things that I can do where my mind shuts off. Mm-hmm. And I think, you know, that's important. I think for any hobby, I think that's why hobbies are just important in general for people. Mm-hmm. Like, I think everybody needs to have a moment when they just, the brain shuts off. Yeah. You're able to, you know, reboot, and, you know, whether it's you read a book or, you know, you like going for a run in the morning or whatever. That's what fly fishing does for me. And I have gotten in touch with so many amazing people over the course of my life through fly fishing more than anything else. And I'm a really social kind of guy. So the community within fly fishing and the people that I meet is really great. And that's why I like guiding too, because if you spend 8 hours in a boat with somebody, you know, stories are told, you know, jokes are made. Mm-hmm. And I like hearing people's life story and kind of like, you know, what culminated to the moment that they're out there fishing with me right now. You know what I mean? And so, and you learn a lot. Mm-hmm. You know, I learn a lot about, you learn a lot about business. I take a lot of business owners out, you know, so we talk about that. You know, you hear about people's spiritual journey that they're on, you know, and family, just, you know, you end up, I mean, you're a marriage counselor out there half the time, you know what I mean? Like, you know, you don't know what you're going to run into, but I love all of it, and it's great, and it puts me in touch with a lot of neat people. That's awesome. And the yurts are great too, because it's kind of the same thing, but a little bit different. Like, I do have guests that, you know, I take out fly fishing that stay there, but the coolest thing is, you know, like you mentioned, Vanessa, like you think it's with the yurts is a good segue if you aren't necessarily a huge camper.
Yeah, dispel myths that people might think about like yurts, because like some people might be like, I'm not staying in one of those things.
Yeah, and like the coolest thing is like, I mean, I'll go by and there's kids they're roasting their first marshmallow in their life. It's pretty cool to see that. You know, you drive around on a Friday night, like that'd be the big night, I'd say. You know, everybody, you know, it's very much a weekend town here in Bethel. Like, you know, obviously there's people that stay for long periods of time, but like we're situated so close to the large cities, you know, so many people within a 5-6 hour drive can be up here, and they can go skiing or they can go camping and hiking for the weekend. So we get a lot of people that come in on a Friday night, and you drive around and kids are having fires, roasting marshmallows and hot dogs and riding their bicycles.
The laughter and the conversations outside.
Yeah. And you're getting them in touch with nature, and you know, the yurts are kind of in an intimate setting the way that we laid it out. It's my background with excavation was good because I did all of the site work and everything up there. And so I was able to lay everything out the way that I wanted to visually. So it was time consuming, because a lot of what we did is, you know, you're building a road and you're like, it's going to be difficult, but I really like this tree. And we left everything kind of tight and meandering, and the yurts are kind of tucked into a little bit of a thicker kind of evergreen forest. So like when you're outside and you're there, you feel very close to the woods, you know, and nature, which is what we tried to kind of, you know, emulate with what we did. And but we see a lot of different demographics of people than I thought that I was going to see, which was really cool. Because the thing about doing this is, like, I didn't like go call people up and like say, hey, can you share your business plan with me for free? although I get that like on a weekly basis.
Oh, people
almost
asking you to do that?
Oh, it's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. And it's like people, I'm like, yeah, I won't even get it.
I was told I stole somebody's business plan one day. I was like, what?
Well, I've been accused of that too. And I'm like, look, I just went out and took risks, and this is what I did based upon what, you know, I thought would work. But the demographics that we've had have been really neat. And like, so a demographic that I didn't anticipate staying there was like the mom and dad that are maybe in their 20s, and their favorite thing in the world was to backpack. Like real hardcore, like outdoor type stuff, but now they have a baby. And they're like, this is great because we can have a fire. If we can plan this 5 months ahead of time, but if it rained all weekend, like our baby can still play.
Yeah.
that we can have, toys out, it's dry, that kind of thing. Like it's tough if you're pet friendly.
Okay.
Yep. The pet owners is huge. It's especially like in the summer months, I'm blown away by the amount of, more than 50% of our guests have their pets with them, which is great. And, knock on wood, everybody locally that I know, they were like, I can't believe you're allowing dogs. And I'm like, people like to travel with their pets. And like
everyone
and
likes to
outdoorsy
travel.
people
Well,
do
not
too,
everybody, but
and we've had 0 damages from animals.
Well, knock on, yes.
Yeah. 0.
And an awesome trail network there.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
the
you
dogs
can get out and walk.
walk.
Yeah, you can walk your dog and they've been great. And we kind of, part of the way that we laid out the yurts was to make it easy to clean for having animals and stuff there. But yeah, the young demographic's been great. And then I would say like 60 plus, we have this awesome demographic where, and it's not just the wife or the husband. One of them hates camping, though. So sometimes it's Papa Bear, and sometimes it's Mama Bear, but one of them hates it, and the other one loves it. And they're like, I can never get him to go, and they come, but it bridges that gap.
Yep.
It bridges that gap. So it's like you have a nice bed. It's warm. You got a living room that you can lounge in and what have you, and so in the bathhouse is
spacious.
Nice.
They're so spacious.
Yeah.
And it's awesome.
Yeah. So that's a cool demographic of people, but it's been good. I've enjoyed, we have a lot of interesting questions sometimes where growing up in Maine, just like lighting cook stoves or stuff like that, but the biggest thing that we have is just, and we've done a better job, is just educating people as to how to navigate a few of the things that are more primitive as far as, starting a campfire, cooking with a propane cooktop, kind of thing. But it's been good.
When I moved back here with my son, he was in 8th grade. He was 13, I think. And we were in a more urban area of New Hampshire. And we took him out fishing and we live in Camden. It's really beautiful. And he was like, this place is basically apple background after apple background. That's been his primary experience with the beauty that we see in Maine all the time.
Yeah.
Is just...
Yeah.
On his phone or his computer.
What's the craziest fish story you've ever heard from a client of yours, and did you believe it?
Oh my word. You got me thinking. Oh.
Do they regale you with these tales of,
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, they do. And the biggest thing that is the biggest tale that you get told is usually skill level, so you go out with an expert fly fisherman and it's tough. So yeah, being honest with yourself. But we have a lot of funny fish stories. Usually though, I feel like the crazy stuff happens when I'm out with friends and stuff like that.
Okay. But a crazy story. Tell us one.
Oh, losing boat anchors. I've fallen into a cooler. I've yet to lose somebody out of the boat, but that's bound to happen. I did catch somebody from falling out of the boat this year with the net, which I don't know how I did it. But
you caught them in the net?
No, they were backing up and going to fall out of the boat, and I kind of got the net behind them,
God.
and kind of got them back in. But that's kind of the. Knock on wood, I haven't lost anybody out of the boat, but it's going to happen at some point.
I fell into a cooler, but that's another story.
Yeah. I was eating all dressed up chips when I fell into the cooler. I had opened the cooler and it was a cooler.
The Humpty Dumpties.
Yes.
All right.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
I got you.
Oh yeah.
All right.
And I forgot that I had opened it because I was so excited. Yeah. We have a lot of good ones. But.
And then the only other question I have, because I know we're running short on time, you've been out in wilderness in Maine. Do you have a wildlife encounter that you will never forget, with a bear or a moose or a deer that just took your breath away and you were just, I've had a couple and I'm just I can't believe I'm here and this is happening. And yeah.
On the river, I have I have so many amazing ones like that. I had this summer, I had a particular baby fawn that I saw every day guiding this stretch of river. And the mothers, which a lot of people don't know this, but it's kind of a neat tidbit, but the mothers usually, you see it a lot, where on the Androscoggin, we have a lot of big islands, big islands, 40-acre island, 50-acre islands. And a lot of the mothers will actually swim out and they'll fawn on the islands, and then they raise the babies on the island. So you'll see them a lot.
them.
Yeah. They don't have to worry about coyotes and stuff. So, but this little guy loved the water. He'd be out like swimming and splashing around in the water every morning. I saw him all the time. I got a lot of cool video of him. I saw 3 otters this year, which that was a highlight of my summer, because it's been a while since I've seen an otter, and it's only been like a single one. But I've seen moose on the river. I've seen bear on the river, across the river, which is
awesome.
great. And I also hunt. So I mean, we could be here forever. Like adolescent foxes playing in front of my tree stand, and little screech owls, hanging out on branches and checking me out and stuff. And it's like, Maine's a cool spot. And usually if you slow down enough, you'll see stuff. And that's why, like, if you're a stand hunter, you go into the woods, and I have a lot of people tell me like, oh, well, I walk in the woods all the time. And I'm like, well,
No.
like if you sit in a tree and you're quiet for 20 minutes, the woods takes on a different sound. And then if you're quiet for an hour, it takes on a different sound. And so you see some pretty cool stuff. Same thing on the river, though. We spend a lot of time on the river, and I love it. And I love all the different stuff. It's not all about fishing. You know what I mean?
You make me more excited to get back out.
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for being on the show. We are going to get to a lightning round, but first, a mention of our sponsors, which we are so thankful for. A big thank you and congratulations to Saddleback Mountain. They were just named the #1 ski resort in the East by Ski Magazine, and if you've been up there lately, you know why. Incredible terrain, a great community vibe, and year-round mountain fun. Whether you're skiing, riding, or just hanging out on the deck, Saddleback is the place to be. We also want to thank Harcourt Waterfront and Fine Properties. They specialize in exceptional homes across the Maine coast and lakes region, pairing global reach with true local expertise. And thank you to Morton and Furbish Vacation Rentals. Whether you want a cozy camp or a high-end home on the lake, they're the go-to team in the mountains. They make it easy to plan a stay that feels just right for your trip.
Now, this is lightning round. This is
fast.
Some people don't understand what lightning round is.
Should I just say yes or no? Yes, no. Maybe.
All right. A Maine river or waterway that feels like home.
The Androscoggin River.
Favorite species to fish for in Maine.
Trout.
One piece of advice for someone fly fishing for the first time.
Hire a guide, and if you're buying a rod, get a good beginner kit rod.
Nice.
One thing every guest should do during a stay at Western Maine Yurt.
Relax outside by the solo stove fire, I would say, is probably top, yeah.
A Maine business or guide that deserves a shout out from you.
I would say shout out to Drift Boating in Maine, Mike Jones, and he's a guy that's been doing it for, I think, 30 or 35 years now, is a mentor and friend of mine, and we guide together all the time. Great guy.
Fun.
Yeah.
Last one. One word to describe what you love most about Western Maine.
In one word.
One word.
You can say one sentence. I'll give you a sentence.
I was like, wow.
I would say the outdoor beauty and people. Yeah.
These are great answers.
Yay.
Thank you so much for being on the show. And where can people find you online who are listening?
Oh boy. You can find us if you want to book a yurt, westernmaineyurts.com. And everything that you need to know is on there. My art website is alpolandart.com. Obviously.com. And you can, if you get on either one of those sites, there'll be links where you can find my art. You can find links to my podcast, which is Where Waters Meet. We're on YouTube. We do a video podcast. So yeah, those two websites are kind of your segues into everything that we do, though.
Perfect.
You're going to invite us to be on your podcast.
Yes. Yeah. For sure.
Thanks so much.
I'm sure it'll be riveting.
And you could call it. Yeah.
There we go.
Yeah. You crushed it.
So good.
Thank you so much.
That was awesome.
Yeah, that was really wonderful.